Hey, what's going on, guys? Good Monkey Games here. For those of you who has been following this channel for quite a bit of time, you probably know that recently we've started a new playlist on this channel, and the section is called like kind of one-line scrapers. So the idea is very simple. We just invoke the SCRAPY Shell, and then we type the only single line of Python code, and eventually we have a working web scraper, just like the casual web scraper if you just open the source file and just try to write all the stuff from scratch. But what the benefit of this sort of an approach is minimalism, and it really fits the format of videos, because when you need to write the entire scrapy spider and define all the methods and all the stuff, it really takes time to type literally all this kind of code there. And I have really lots of full-blown scrapy tutorials where I'm starting with a empty file and then just creating this spider from scratch. And even I have some videos where I'm working on the real-world projects, which means that at the very end of the video I was sending the code to my client and eventually got paid for that. But that's not the point right now at the moment. So I've been doing this web scraping tutorials for quite a bit of time already, and what I try to improve, I just try to minimize the duration of the video, and I'm trying to make it as tight as possible, and I'm trying not to focus on programming maybe, or Python, or this like this, but I'm just trying to focus on the web scraping itself in particular, like if we crawl in through the multiple levels of the website, then how to do this, or if we need to scrape the data from JavaScript variables, again, like how can one obtain that sort of a data, and so on. So I'm just trying to focus on web scraping topics rather than programming topics, and I'm just trying to fit my programming style the exact way to make it like understandable for the vast majority of viewers, basically. And one of the reasons why I came up with this one-line scrapers, well, of course, obviously, I like minimalism. I like this minimalist approach, really. But the point is that writing this one line of code is way faster compared to writing the entire kind of scraper, even though it has some limitations. From the programming perspective, an example, like it's built in pure list comprehension, so you can't make things like try except statements and things like that. So it does have some limitation, but it has loops, and it has some conditionals, which is in most cases it's literally enough. So without further ado, first I would like to demonstrate you how this one-line scraper works. And then the idea of this entire video of how one can alternatively how one can use this SCRAPY Shell in an alternative way, basically. But let me just show you this, and I hope you'll get into this quite pretty quickly. So the very first thing to consider, let's actually grab this CSV version of right move scraper and make sure that we don't have. Okay, so this is from the previous unsuccessful attempt to record this video. So no rightmove.csv file, so no output file is available. And now let me just try to invoke my SCRAPY Shell here. And without diving into the line of code itself, because I have entire video where I'm creating this line of code and explaining like what's going on under the hood. So I'm not going to be diving into this now. So let me just paste this in and run the code, and eventually we get this output like rightmove.csv, which does contain this real estate properties data. So just to have a quick look, this is kind of it, basically. So the only single line of code did crawl through the range of pages and did extract the data from the property cards in this like way. So it's quite pretty interesting, right? And I thought that it would be really better to, it's not readable. One line is cool, but it's not readable. So I thought, what if we just leave a one-line concept syntactically. So I mean, like from Python syntax's perspective, it would be still kind of one line of code, right? But from the user readability perspective, it could have been several lines of code basically. So let me just show you what I mean by saying this. So let me just try to paste this line of code into a regular Python source file. And you see, like here, we're not creating any Scrapy spider or something. We are not even importing Scrapy this time, and we're just using this fetch method. And if you just run this with a bare Python, it won't work because it has no idea like what the fetch method is all about. But there is a nice little trick. And before show you this trick, yeah, okay, I already deleted my write-move.csv. So there is a nice method called execute in Python, and it takes the line, the string that contains the valid Python source. So let me just first try to print the source from the file, and then we'll execute it, and we'll see that we'll obtain literally the same result. So if I say open and write-move.py, and I want to read the file stream, and I want to read this, so here is our source file. Okay, I'm just wondering. Okay, I didn't save it. Sorry. So let's have this one more time. Okay, so we have some header here, and well, this just ignore it basically. And this line would have been interpreted. So if you just, instead of printing this, if you just say like execute, then it goes literally the same way. So it does go through the pages, and eventually it stores the data to the CSV file, and we have absolutely the same file because it's literally absolutely the same code, right? So this is interesting way like how we can run Scrapy line, Scrapy command, if you want to say this like so, but from within the source file, which might be really interesting in terms of, and let me just try to explain what I mean by saying this. So I will now start adding some new lines, but again, like syntactically it's still kind of the same line of code, because here we're using this list comprehension. Well, I'm not sure, maybe okay, so let's just go step by step basically. So here is another one. So if I just make it this like, so we're fetching our data within the loop, I guess. Yeah, okay, it's quite pretty long URL, doesn't matter really, but okay, and here actually starts our data extraction logic. So so here I can say loop over the range of pages and crawl them, yeah, and crawl, let's say pagination, right? Okay, and here we well, generally this regards to data extraction. So data extraction, okay, and so here what we do here, I'm just wondering. So here we append a row to table, row or item, that doesn't matter really. So anyway, it uses dictionary writer. So as far as it does use the dictionary writer, it actually every single item is considered to be a dictionary, and this dictionary writer writes here it is, right row. Okay, so here it is basically. Okay, and now okay, just, yeah, we could have make it even prettier like this. Okay, URL. So here is our data extraction logic basically. Okay, just want to show you guys this kind of beauty of this style of code, basically, because, you know, like, when I've realized today, I've realized that this is actually possible, and I was so excited, believe it or not. So just really want to share this. So okay, get all, okay. So, you know, like, this is Python, definitely. This is Python, but it's kind of it seems like it's some sort of a different language, basically. It is Python, but this style of coding is, well, I guess it's quite pretty unique. So if you guys did ever encounter this sort of this way of using SCRAPY Shell and writing some code to actually scrape some data, I'm really tempted to actually see if anybody else if anybody actually did ever done something similar. I'm really tempted to figure that out, basically, because me personally, I've never seen anything this like kind of before. Okay, so I guess this regards to our element, right? And yeah, and so this is the right, this parenthesis regards to the right row method, I guess. Okay, yeah, so let's keep this like this. Okay, so yeah, just to make it even slightly bit prettier, I guess it would be nice to make it this like, and I guess we can do this as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So right row. Okay, probably even this like. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And here we can add another commentary. So here we actually loop over property cards. Okay. And this was probably something for the debugging purposes. I don't remember really this this last index. What does it stand for, actually? Yeah, I think we can even drop that. But let's keep it for a while. Okay. So this is it, right? So the very last one, the loop over pages. Okay. Okay, so this seems to be the initial loop, so here is the place for it, right? So loop over the range of pages. Okay. Okay. Yeah. From 0 to 4. Maybe I should start with it. Oh no, right now it does seem to use this index of 0. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it uses the offset, not the pagination directly. Okay, so I just want to check this out, to check everything out, to make sure it works. Yeah, to make sure it is structured logically, basically. So I'm just so this parenthesis, this square bracket probably regards to the data extraction, right? Yeah, it seems like. Then, yeah, I think this is just fun. Yeah, and this should be here. Save. So now I would like to try to run this one more time, basically. So let's get back to the SCRAPY shell, and again, first let's actually try to print what we got there. Okay, so here is our source code. Well, it is actually a line of code, for if say syntactically again, like, but it's more, yeah, it's just wrapping around, I guess. Yeah. So this is way more readable way of writing the code, basically. This is really important, and I like this much better actually. So now let's try to execute this, and I really hope that it should work literally the same way. Yeah, it does. Okay, so here is our output, and you know, like, you might wonder that, yeah, so the data is the same, perfect. You might wonder that as far as we actually do write, as far as we do write some code within the source file, then why on earth actually to follow this one line syntax, and you know, like, probably because this is the most tight way of creating a web scraper using SCRAPY shell, using SCRAPY actually. Obviously, so things like enclosing this fetch method and working with the response object within either the square brackets, like right over in here, or we could replace this with say parentheses too. So in this case it would be a tuple instead of a list, and you see, like, let me just show you this, it would give you literally the same result, so it works. So just needed for the debugging purposes. So it kind of, okay. I guess you still can't really get why am I doing this and what I mean by saying this. So I'm just trying to find some right words to explain this, basically. Oh, just didn't save. Okay, just one more test. Okay, invalid syntax. Oh. Well, okay, it's not really that important at least right at the moment. So let's drop editing the code, but just and stop just bringing this to a readable state. So yeah, obviously we could have not used this list. It's not even a list comprehension. It's basically just grouping this fetch method and the response object within the one line of code, and it did make sense when we did this within the SCRAPY shell. So yeah, obviously if we're using this exec method, we can write any number of lines. Basically, they can be separated by the new lines, and it would get interpreted. That's not a big deal, basically. But my God, how am I supposed to explain you this, guys? I don't even know. You know, like, okay, seems like I found a way how to explain why on earth this weird shit is about to be done, basically, but by somebody. So let's consider that we don't actually have this sort of a line of code, and let's imagine that we did create our one-line scraper in this like format. So it seems like we have multiple lines of code, but syntactically we got only the single line of code. So now I would like to show you one little trick on how to convert this into a one line, and then we'll copy this one line to the new instance of the SCRAPY shell and run this, and you'll see the result would be the same. So in order to convert this to one line of code, we need to loop over the lines. We need to drop those lines containing commentaries, and obviously regarding the logic that I'm supposed to be creating. Now this like commentaries are not basically load because it won't parse them correctly. So okay, let me just show you this, guys. So again, let's print our source code. Okay, so here it is, and now let's do something interesting here. So let's try to split this source code by the new line. Okay, and as far as we did split this by the new line, from now on we can actually iterate over this. So for line in this sort of stuff, and also, well, let's keep it line for a while, and yeah, just to get rid of this spaces. Well, okay, no, let's go step by step. So here I want to say if this sort of a symbol not in line, so it would be skipping all the lines containing this hash symbol that stands for the beginning of the commentary line. And let's try to print this again. Okay, also obviously we need to join this. Okay, so let's join them by empty space. So join. Okay. Okay, but still we got too many spaces here, right? So now let's try to get rid of this spaces as well. So I would like to split every line by default it would be split by empty space, and let's actually join by probably this like. Okay, so now it already looks like a single line of code, believe it or not. So now we did convert this sort of a thing. Okay, let me just try to make this again into this sort of a thing, and if we just copy and let me try to paste this in, you see, like, again we have the only single line of code, which means that we don't necessarily need to write the code, the one-line scraper, this like way, which obviously I did already several times on this channel, and it's really interesting and intriguing and challenging, but still it's not really that great for from the clarity perspective or from the educational perspective. So it's way better to have an opportunity to provide some commentaries and to explain of what's going on under the hood, basically. But as far as we can translate this sort of a line, this sort of a source code into a single line of code, this like, we can actually still have the same, exactly the same feature of having the entire scraper being contained within the single line of code. So I just closed the SCRAPY shell, and I just want to invoke this one more time, and now I just want to grab this line that we've generated from copy, that we've just generated from this sort of a source file, and if I just simply paste this in, and just to make sure that I don't have this ratemove.csv. Okay, so let's kick it again, and if I now run this, you see it works again, absolutely the same. So and again, like, we have absolutely the same data here. Okay, so let me try to summarize this. So writing this one-line scraper using multiple lines, but synthetically it's still a one line, it's way better in terms of understanding of what's going on under the hood from the educational perspective and for the clarity purposes. But when we did this already, still we can wrap this back to the only single line of code. And if we need to quickly run this, not by typing this execute, opening the file, so that's a little bit too long. So we can just share this line of code to somebody, and then somebody would just simply open this SCRAPY terminal and just paste this in and hits enter, and the magic is just going on there. This is it. So I don't know, guys, maybe this video might be considered slightly bit controversial. Oh my god, it's incredibly difficult word to pronounce, controversial. Okay, forget this, you know what I mean. Okay, so but even still, oh my god, it's too late and I'm already done, tired and exhausted, so I'm sorry if I'm talking something wrong or in a bad way. So, you know, like, I have no idea if anybody ever would be interested in this sort of a method that I claim that I did invent this myself. So if you ever seen this like technique or style of code before, please let me know. I would be happy to know that somebody else is as crazy as I am, and in that case it would turn out that I'm not alone, basically, in this madness, in this weird one-line scraping within the SCRAPY shell. Well, okay guys, so this is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope maybe you've learned something interesting out of it. I'm not sure, but still. So nevertheless, until the next time, and take care.